I had a whole other episode here. That will be coming soon, but I have dug a bit into this other situation, and I am so very, very angry right now because there's a gun manufacturer that many of you likely own products from that is actively a danger to their customers and to the community at large. Sig Sauer has decided to lean into a series of Darvo gaslighting tactics and wants you to swallow that if their gun shoots you, it's your fault. That is not an exaggeration. I am not being dramatic. Well, I am. I perpetually am. But it's still a genuine and honest interpretation I think most people would walk away from the situation agreeing with. I have loved some SIG designs in the past. The P320 is taking M1911 and make it Art Deco and has been on the top of my golden gun list for the longest time. That list of guns you'd buy if you won the lottery. Everybody has one of those, right? I'm not just a weird... Anyway, the P320 is bite the back of your hand levels of beautiful. The Sig 550 is the greatest rifle of all time. Fight me, cowards. And they've built a lot of weapons that are absolutely high-level watermarks. And you should sell any of them that you need to trust the modern SIG with. I try to treat all businesses with the same standards. We live in a world where... Sorry, I have to. We live in a society. Sorry, I had to. No, we live in the real world. The real world. No, I'm making a serious point here. Stop at the movie references. Okay, so I get it. Errors happen. You have some level of understanding when it comes to people making mistakes. It happened. People fuck up your food. The gun shop gives you the wrong barrel. You get home and there's a problem you didn't see. That's just fucking life. I get it. You'll have to give people a chance to unfuck their fuck-ups. Now, there are good ways to handle problems, and there are not great ways to handle problems, and there's bad ways to handle problems. SIG has decided fuck all that noise and pulled the worst option imaginable lever. The SIG P320 has become a notorious danger. There are a wide and varied number of videos demonstrating the P320 with no other input can go off when dropped, when holstered, and even when sitting in a backpack in the backseat of a car. The problem is technical, but also relatively simple. This is a P320. This is the barrel. This is the recoil spring. And this motherfucker right here.
This motherfucker right here.
This is the striker assembly. For reference, in a Glock, the closest thing to a comparable part is the firing pin assembly. The thing is, the 320 has this round cheating assembly. Essentially, they want the gun to cock like it's hammer fired, so they cheat how short this distance is by wrapping the assembly around this circular surface with these grooves and lands and a lot of complexity in its assembly. And if you measure the amount of surface area holding back the striker as a vertical line, you get this relatively small amount of area compared to the Glock, where for better and worse, you have this big dumb piece of metal coming down to interact with the trigger assembly. On a Glock, the same area is shown like this. The line's almost double. I present it like this because the failure wouldn't involve the entire surface area. You can move the piece that far out of the way, and the thing they are holding back fails. Tolerance stacking is the idea that when you design a complex thing for production, you have to remember that making objects in the real world often means making objects that are imperfect. What level of imperfection a shop allows for will vary from case to case and use case to use case. Individual systems should be tested to see their tolerance requirements, and they should be significantly tested as a whole system. SIG did the former, and they kept highlighting the data. Each individual part of that system shouldn't be able to fail with the tolerances they have. But tolerance stacking is where that gets kind of funky. Remember that Glock system? There's basically one single big piece of metal that makes up the surface area being interacted with. On the 320, in order to try and both slim up space and avoid IP law bullshit, they made this far more complex with multiple systems and pieces stacked together. And yes, each one has been tested thoroughly, and the guns themselves were in fact impact tested, but the testing was done early with prototype guns, with much higher levels of production capability and much narrower tolerances. Tolerance stacking matters a lot less in DIY manufacturing and in small-scale prototyping, because you are sitting there finely crafting each individual component. final prototype designs will often run better than actual production run guns because the prototypes are lovingly crafted. The build quality, for one, and the high level of technical skill of the person making it add up to a sort of protective layer that doesn't exist on the production line. And not all production lines are the same, largely because the amount needing to be produced and the time frames in which the individual parts can take are wide variables. A gun that costs $4,000 from a boutique shop can have far more man hours on it with individual parts and processes than a gun that costs $450 from a massive factory run, which, fun fact, is right where the Sig P320 lands. Now, that's not to inherently say you need $4,000 in a custom gun in order to have something that works properly, but it's worth remembering that the kind of design that can work with that level of craftsmanship will be different. So add all of this together, tolerance stacking, the P320's complicated design, and then add to it the fact that the P320 was picked to be the US military's all branches handgun, as well as a ton of police agencies immediately afterwards, because everybody copies what the military does. So Sig suddenly had to massively ramp up their production capabilities. And, yeah, it goes off randomly. So what did Sig do? Sig has a fucking dedicated website to gaslighting you, and they are screaming over and over that it's a skill issue. They put out a press release basically saying if you had a negligent discharge with your P320 where nothing touched the trigger, no you didn't, that's woke propaganda, and then doubled the fuck down on their website. This is a thing that multiple different tech and gun YouTubers have specifically proven on camera is already happening. Not to mention the dozens of documented cases of people not touching their gun and it going off.
You guys, is that a fucking 320?
Yep.
Right. Get this gun off my range.
And now, on top of all of that, the Air Force is no longer using them because an airman got shot while carrying their service-issued pistol. There have been a lot of reports of issued guns having issues and going off randomly, and now someone has died. P320 was recalled and replaced with the fucking M4? Seriously? They really took back pistols and just handed out full auto rifles to people to just carry around? America. I'm sorry to have to say this, but sell your Sig products. Not just the P320, sell it all, get rid of it. Well, no, let me clarify. If you have a Sig product and need to use the factory, I would highly, highly recommend selling it. If you don't mind repairing it yourself and it seems to run fine in the moment, especially if yours is older and you wasn't going to get warranty repaired anyway, keep it at your own risk. But do not support the current company in this state. Do not buy new guns, and specifically sell your 320s as soon as you can, cheaply. And being completely honest and ethical about it, you'd probably want to put a warning at the top of the P320 page where you're selling it, saying you believe all P320s are a safety issue and Sig is refusing to handle it. I do not think these are guns people should keep loaded around people they care about. It is that level of problem. And Sig, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I regret ever recommending your products given how you've acted here. Suck my... Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. As always, thanks to these lovely people who are the Patreon names that make all of this possible. Gigantic shout out to Violet Riley and Molly McAllister, the two people in my shout out gang. If you want to support the channel, the best way to do that would be over on Patreon. But that's going to be it for me. Stay dangerous, y'all. Keep each other safe. And remember, moral doesn't mean legal, and Stonewall was a fucking riot. Peace.